The following program is brought to you by Jack Miller.
It's Down to Business with Jack Miller.
Turn it around.
Forget what they teach you in school. This is real life. Not Wall Street, but Main Street. Our guests will answer your questions and provide you with valuable information. Stay tuned and join in the conversation. Follow us on Facebook, Jack Miller Down to Business, or on Twitter at HJackMiller1.
Hello, everyone. This is Jack Miller with Todd Cohen here. We are super excited. Every week I'm super excited, but I'm really super excited. We have an unbelievable slate of guests. Todd, how you doing?
I feel great.
Let's deal with the first guest first. We have, I think he's I don't know if you call him professor. I think it may be doctor. He's a doctor. Doctor, professor.
We'll ask him what he prefers.
Yeah, Gerald Friedman. By the way, I spoke to him the other day. Super nice guy. He wrote the paper, which has really been not only United States.
It's like a treatise.
Yeah, world acclaim. It's funny.
Right.
I was talking to him the other day. He had to call me back. He was doing a radio interview, I think in New Zealand. Could you believe it?
Well, we're feeling the burn.
We're feeling it. And you know what? He wrote this article. It was like a 56-page synopsis of the Bernie Sanders economic plan and what would happen if it went through in certain assumptions. And I have to tell you, I was very skeptical about reading it. Some of the highlights, which we're gonna grill them on, that the average household income will go up $22,000. Unemployment will fall. All these great things. Growth will go from 2.1% to 5.3%.
5.3 for 10 years. That's crazy. That's unprecedented. It's never happened. Yeah, I can't even.
But I read it, and you know what? When you read it, you kind of believe it. But
you feel great.
Yeah. And now what's more interesting is all these people are coming out and attacking it, and the guy is unbelievably smart. He's a PhD, Harvard economics. He's a professor at UMass Amherst. He has written more paper, and he has like a really diverse interest in everything from just all kinds of stuff.
Teasing us already.
I know. Well, we're going to bring him on. You know what?
Wanda.
Forget about Wanda. You know what? Let's bring on Dr. Gerald Friedman. Dr. Friedman, are you with us?
I'm right here. That introduction.
Well,
thank you.
You know what? I was really impressed, first of all, by the diversity of things you've done in your life. Just fascinating. And then when I heard about the report on the Sanders plan, I went into it skeptically, if that's the right word. I like to think of myself as a capitalist, a free market capitalist, where less government's better. But you started to convince me in the plan. And I want to dive into it. I have a bunch of questions on the Bernie Sanders economic plan, and I just have a bunch of questions in general.
Hey, Dr. Friedman, two quick questions before we get into the meat. First, as we were saying in the intro, do you prefer professor or doctor?
I guess professor. Doctors are MDs.
Got it.
I always look up to doctors, the real doctors.
Got it. And do you have any relation whatsoever to the famous economist Milton Friedman?
No, except to the extent that all Ashkenazi Jews descend from a group of about 200 people who moved from Palestine to the Loire Valley in the 2nd century A.D.
There you go.
So we're all related.
That's right. Yeah.
First, Professor Friedman, I wanted to be clear because I think I've heard, politics is a dirty game. And since this came out, I've heard people accuse you of being paid by the Sanders campaign in the Bernie Sanders campaign. You and I had a discussion off air, but why don't you just clear that up right away and tell me?
I have no relationship with the Bernie Sanders campaign. I did go to them to vet the numbers I was using about what he's proposing, because I wanted to do an analysis of what he's really proposing, not an analysis of some fictitious thing that I dreamt up. So I consulted with them about that, but I was never paid by them. Also, I helped them with their single-payer health care plan, because I had worked up numbers for that for a study I did in 2013. So I'm kind of the expert on it or something. So I helped them with that. But otherwise, I have no connection with them. I sent them a copy of the study before it came out. This isn't their study. It's my study. And my wife has a Bernie Sanders sticker on her car. She paid $35 for it. I do have a Bernie Sanders traveling mug because it's a really nice traveling mug, and I paid $35 for that one too. So that's the extent of it. I donate money to Hillary Clinton's campaign every month. My wife is voting for Bernie. One daughter's voting for Bernie. One's voting for Hillary. And I myself, well, the Washington Post says I'm voting for Hillary. I actually didn't quite say that. I said I'm not sure. But, I mean, I like Hillary Clinton. I like the woman who said women's rights are human rights. There are other issues than economics. On economics and health care, I strongly prefer Bernie Sanders. On other issues, I like Hillary Clinton, too. So,
Got it. So you're sort of feeling the burn.
I don't have a dog in this fight.
Right. You're only sort of feeling the burn, is what you're saying.
That's right. I care a lot about the issues. More than about the particular candidates.
What was the impetus?
I really want us to have a more progressive economic policy. I really want us to move to single-payer health care. I really want to protect women's rights to choose and civil liberties, and I want a more peaceful foreign policy. I mean, I've got a lot of issues, and I care about them.
I have a stupid question. Are women, and I really don't know because I'm not a woman and I'm just focused on my business and trying to make a living, but are women's rights not protected now? I hear that a lot. Protect women's rights, but how unprotected are they now?
Well, it depends on where you are. I think, Massachusetts is one thing. I don't know the state of play in Florida. But in Texas and some other states, if you want to have an abortion, it's very, very hard to do. And pay equity is not guaranteed across the country. I mean, I think that there are real issues, and it does vary by where you are. What's
your feeling on paid maternity leave, and how long should it be, and what should we be doing to improve that?
I think there should be paid family leave. As a father, I really wish that I'd be able to take some more time off. And I think it's also important to get men more involved in raising children. I think that's better for children, better for society. Nowadays, it's still, in Amherst, which is an academic community where people have lots of flex time, I would take my kids to the playground, and I would see the mothers look at me, see me coming, and they'd look to make sure they knew where their kids were, as if I was there to steal their kids.
Wow.
Men are unusual at these playgrounds and threatening. And I didn't appreciate that. But I think that if more men were involved, then everybody would be more comfortable and it would be a better community. And children would know that they can expect this from men. That it's not just women who care for them, but men can also care for them. So I think there should be 3 months, 6 months of family leave.
Aren't you worried that productivity will go down and we've become a society of doing less instead of doing more?
Well, no. I think that having people go back to work when they have young children is bad for productivity. It's difficult to work when you're not sleeping at night. And it's difficult for parents to work when they're worried about what's happening to their children. And we lose a lot of valuable human capital because mothers especially feel that, well, I'm going to be taking years off, so they don't invest in their training. Businesses don't invest in training women, anticipating that they'll be taking time off. And the women themselves lose skills atrophy when they are the ones who take all the time off. And it's hard for them to get back into the workforce. If we institutionalized parental leave, then I think that would actually raise productivity. The other side of this, family leave is not the same as parental leave. I would want family leave because there are a lot of people, generally daughters, spending a lot of time trying to arrange care for their parents. And that's a very important social function. Somebody has to take care of people when they get old and when they need help. And again, people who are distracted are not good workers. So giving people some time off to make arrangements for their parents, to care for them, to spend time with them in times of need, I think would raise productivity by allowing people the time they need to take care of things rather than stretching it out and being distracted all the time. And you see this, people who are just frazzled by, being in that sandwich generation where you have children who are maybe in high school, and then you have a parent who fell, broke a hip, needs to be settled into some assisted living facility and whatever, and people are trying to squeeze time out to do that. And I think it would raise productivity, and also it would just be a humane thing to do.
But in reality, in capitalistic society, don't you think we as humans fear that we live in like a Wally Pipp world? I mean, he famously, lost his job due to injury to Lou Gehrig, and don't you think that the general person, if they take a year, or 9 months off from work, fears that someone's going to step into their shoes, do better, get promoted, and they're going to miss out? And doesn't that really happen in real life too?
I'm sure it does. And people, I think that is maybe an unfortunate thing that happens, but it's also a check on abusing the system. We set up parental leave or we set up family leave. People aren't just going to run out and grab it unless they actually need it.
Okay.
Because people do worry about that.
Gotcha. Let's jump into your analysis, and it's like 56 pages or something. Maybe, and I read most of it. I didn't understand a lot of it. But maybe you can break it down to, I always say dummy it down for me and the audience, how... the GDP will go up from 2.1 to 5.3. How the median income will rise by 22,000 a family. We're going to create 26 million additional jobs. Just break it down for us in a simplistic form so people can understand it.
The basic idea, which goes back to John Maynard Keynes and the experience of the U.S. economy in the 1930s, is that when there are unemployed resources, when there are people who don't have jobs, and the government comes in and spends money hiring those people will then take some of the money they get from doing infrastructure or from teaching or whatever it is they're doing. They will take some of that money and they will spend it hiring other people to mow their lawns, build a boat, whatever it is. And the people who mow the lawns will then hire other people. And that whole process is called a multiplier, where $1 of new government spending ripples through the economy. And this can work to produce more employment and more output when the economy has idle resources. Right now, we have a lot of idle resources, and I think this may be the actual point of largest disagreement between me and some of the people who have been critical of this study. To me, I look out, I see the 59% of adults have jobs right now. That is a lower rate, a lower proportion of jobs than was the case in 2009 when President Obama came into office. And it is 6 points lower than in the late 1990s when Bill Clinton left office. So we have 10 million fewer people with jobs than would have been the case if we just had the employment rate of the Clinton years. We have a lot of idle resources. If the government comes in and spends money, it will multiply through the economy, and those idle resources, those unemployed people, will be put to work, doing productive things, feeling better about themselves, increasing national income, but more important, increasing welfare for the whole country by producing stuff that we need. The Sanders program has spending on infrastructure, including home renovations to produce solar power, putting solar panels on homes, retrofitting schools to make them more energy efficient, fixing the roads so that there aren't so many potholes, which will help business be more productive. You won't have broken trucks. A lot of what Bernie Sanders is talking about will make the economy more productive. So we put the resources to work, people who are currently unhappily sitting at home, and they'll be doing things that are useful rather than being idle. That's the basic idea.
We have to take a 2.5-minute commercial break, but when we get back, I want to ask you, are Americans becoming more lazy today, and how much of that is the problem? Or is it just that's my perception, not reality? But stick with us, everyone, for 2.5 minutes. Professor Friedman, I appreciate your intellectual spin on it. You bring a new level to this show. Usually we're down in the gutter. You're bringing it up, and we appreciate it. So.
Right. There you go. A rising tide lifts all boats.
That's right. Dr. Friedman.
You guys seem pretty good to me. So.
I appreciate it. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes, everyone.
Don't turn that dial. We'll be right back.
Do you need long-term real estate financing? Gelt Financial is located right here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and provides 30-year terms with no balloon payment whatsoever on non-owner-occupied residential and commercial real estate. With a minimum loan amount of only $75,000 all the way up to $5 million, we provide common-sense underwriting and a quick closings. We don't require tax returns whatsoever. Call right now at 561-221-0900. Again, that's 561-221-0900.
Did you invest in a non-liquid real estate partnership? Do you want and need liquidity? There's finally an answer. Quick Liquidity is a direct buyer of real estate minority interest and tenants in common investments across the country. To find out if we would buy your non-liquid investment, call us at 561-221-0881 or visit us at quickliquidity.com. That's quickliquidity.com. If you're buying, selling, or investing in real estate, call attorney Dan Kaskow, 561-237-6822. Mr. Kaskow is board certified by the Florida Bar as an expert in real estate law. He's been practicing law for more than 20 years and is a partner in the law firm of Sachs Kaplan with offices in Boca Raton and Tallahassee. Dan Kaskow handles real estate, corporate, condominium, and homeowner association matters throughout Florida. From residential purchases and sales, bulk buying and selling of condominium units, to purchases and sales of commercial properties. Contact attorney Dan Kaskow at 561-237-6822 for your real estate, corporate, and community association legal needs. Attorney Dan Kaskow, 561-237-6822. Non-attorney spokesperson for attorney Dan Kaskow.
Come fly with me, let's fly away.
Hi, this is Sid Mark. Come fly with me Saturday mornings at 6 when we fill your heart with song and the sounds of Sinatra here on 880 The Biz, where money talks and Sinatra sings.
Fly with me.
Welcome back to It's Down to Business with Jack Miller. Follow us on Facebook at Jack Miller Down to Business or on Twitter at HJackMiller1.
Hello, everyone. This is Jack Miller with Todd Cohen. We're super excited to be with us, and we're very grateful for Professor Gerald Friedman to be with you. Professor Friedman, I want to just ask you some questions because I got a ton of them for you.
Okay.
So before the commercial break, I said, do you think Americans as a society are becoming more, I don't say lazier, but more entitled, where they expect things without working harder than the previous generations?
No, I don't think so. I think Americans are very hardworking people, as shown by the large number of hours, the long work weeks that Americans put in. Americans put in more hours than people in most other advanced capitalist countries. We put in more hours at work than we did in the 1970s. So we work about 1 week more per year now than we did then, and we work about 6 weeks more per year than people in Canada, and about 10 weeks more per year. 10 weeks more per year than people in Germany and Norway.
Got it.
So
Right.
Americans are very hardworking people. What has happened in the last 15, 20 years is we haven't had jobs for everybody. So that shows up in people dropping out of the labor force because they get discouraged. Some of them who are able to get onto Social Security, early retirement, or if they have some nagging disability. I think there are a fair number of people on Social Security disability who They have a physical problem, but they might still be at work doing something.
I understand.
Professor, I mean, isn't a lot of that, though, because, a lot of the manufacturing jobs and corporate jobs have relocated overseas where labor is cheaper and taxes are more favorable. And, in this plan, I don't really see how, I'm not saying that you're necessarily assuming that corporate taxes get raised here per se, but with the corporate tax dodging prevention act and some of the other things that are in the plan, how do you see that changing, and what kind of assumptions do you need to make that more companies aren't going to actually relocate jobs overseas for those same reasons with more stringent tax disadvantages, if you will?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Now, if you look at the world's most successful exporter, that's not China, it's not India, it's not a low-wage country, it's one of the highest-wage countries in the world, with the highest taxes and the most social protection and strong unions, and that's Germany. Germany is the biggest manufacturing exporter in the world. And they do it because they have high-skilled, highly motivated workers. And that's the model that we should be following in this country. It's a model we used to follow. When the U.S. was the world's biggest exporter in the 1950s, 1960s, the 1920s, when we dominated the world economy, we had the highest wages, and we had relatively strong social protections and strong unions. The key to manufacturing success is not just the wage of the workers, and the least of it is the corporate tax rate. What matters is the productivity of the workers, and that reflects infrastructure, it reflects education and training programs, and it reflects the motivation of the workers themselves. If workers feel like they're well treated by the company, if they care about the company, they work harder.
I agree with that. A couple other questions. Do you think government regulation as a whole, or the increased government regulation, has helped or hurt the economy?
Oh, it really depends on which regulations you're talking about. Now, regulations, there are stupid regulations. I live in the town of Amherst, home of Emily Dickinson and Robert Frost, and maybe the most arrogant, pretentious people in the country. Everybody here has a PhD and thinks they know everything. And our regulations, if you want to open a small business in Amherst, it's really hard. The town checks on your facade, and it's like that type of regulation. We're over-regulated here.
Okay.
But regulations that stop you from filling a pond with toxic waste and just leaving it there until the storms come and washes it all down into the town, as happens in Tennessee and Kentucky with these ponds filled with coal waste, and destroys towns, or the lack of regulation for the water supply in Flint, Michigan.
So some of them are good, some of them are bad. Okay.
Yeah, some of these things may not even show up in gross domestic product.
I understand.
But they show up in people's livelihood. And you think about the economic cost to the economy of all those people in Flint who are going to have children with brain damage.
Terrible.
Yeah. So regulations, by and large, I wouldn't even say by and large, but there are good regulations and there are bad regulations.
Let me ask you a question. How much is the deficit, or do you think the deficit's hurting us?
No, I don't think the deficit's hurting us right now. I think...
so you're not worried about the deficit?
Interest rates. It's a good... I think what we should be doing, and this is in the Sanders program, is we should spend for a couple of years, we should borrow more. Interest rates are very low, and we should invest in education, better roads, and making a transition to a solar economy.
Right.
You're down in Florida. I'm on high ground over here. You look at a map of what Florida is going to look like in 30, 40 years because of global warming and rising sea levels. That's not pretty. That's a lot of very valuable real estate that's going to be lost.
That's right.
Do you think
so? We should be investing in mitigation, making a transition to a solar economy. And again, that's something Germany and China are doing. They are investing very heavily in the next energy technologies.
Well, the country's not investing in anything. Look at our bridges, our roads,
That's right.
our
The
airports.
bridges, the levees.
It's a mess.
Hurricane Katrina was such an eye-opener. And by the way, would you consider the Sanders plan to be like the New Deal? Is that what you're looking?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a New Deal. Roosevelt invested through the Civilian Conservation Corps in building the Appalachian Trail, which is one of the great tourist attractions and amenities in the United States. 5 high schools in Brooklyn were built under the New Deal, the Works Projects Administration, providing more educational opportunities for people. These are the types of investments that government can make. Private sector can't do it. Private sector is not going to invest in public services. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. But the public sector can do it, and when it does, it makes life better, and it makes the business work better.
So we only have a couple minutes left. It's hard to believe the time's flown by. But how would you crystallize in 2 minutes the Sanders plan to middle America, and how's it going to help poverty so much?
Well, the Sanders plan helps middle Americans, helps working Americans by creating jobs, by pump priming the economy so that the economy will work more efficiently, and improving the functioning of the economy by improving infrastructure. And it also, we haven't even touched on the largest single program, which is the Medicare.
Yeah,
replacing private health insurance with a national Medicare system will save trillions of dollars over the next decade by eliminating bureaucratic waste and reducing inflated monopolistic drug prices.
This
is all helps regular working Americans, and it brings down the poverty rate by improving Social Security benefits for the poorest, elderly, and disabled, and by just having wages go up. When the economy does well, wages rise. We've had 30 years of wage stagnation because we've had very slow economic growth. Basically, Sanders goes back to the way we used to do things under Dwight D. Eisenhower, with more infrastructure spending. Remember who built the interstate highways?
Yep.
That was under Eisenhower. And income tax rates for the really rich were high, much higher under Eisenhower than they are today, more than twice as high. Sanders doesn't go back to those tax rates, but he does fund infrastructure and education with higher taxes on the rich.
Any changes to the Social Security system? Raise the current age, raise the eligibility, things like that? We only have a minute left.
No, the only change in Social Security raises the minimum benefit so that all people entering the Social Security system will have a benefit level that at least gets them out of poverty.
Would you like to see Larry David expound the benefits of your plan?
Oh, I would. Unfortunately, we don't have a TV, so I'd have to watch it on YouTube after the fact. But that would be glorious. My kids, one of them supports Hillary, one of them supports Sanders. Although, both of them like both of them. But they say that listening to Larry David or to Bernie Sanders is like going back to my relatives in Brooklyn.
I have to tell you, watching Larry David on different Saturday Night Live and playing Bernie Sanders has been like the highlight of my past month or two.
Oh, it's great.
I can't get enough of it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I saw the Titanic episode. That was hilarious.
That was good. How are you on a personal level? You're all over the place now. For the good and the bad, I know some people are coming out, downing your plan and all that stuff. But how are you enjoying? I don't want to say enjoying. What do you think of this new fame? And I realize you had some of it under the single payer, but this is like unprecedented. You're unbelievable.
Yeah. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy you. I enjoy this show. But honestly, I'm I'm an academic. I'm more of a private person.
Gotcha. Well, Professor Dr. Friedman, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being on the show. You're great. You're the best. And I must tell you, I'm a skeptic, but I'm starting to feel the burn. So
no, I think you made.
Okay, it's working.
I think you made Jack smarter. So thank you.
Yep. Everyone else,
thank you.
We got to break for a commercial. I will speak to you, Professor. Thank you very much. Everyone else, stick with us for traffic, and we will be back for some more.
Don't turn that dial. We will be right back.